Well, you can't trust county. Let me tell you something. This case has no chill. And I'm actually kind of nervous to go through it today because it's one of those cases that like obviously I have a lot of audio and video clips that you're going to be playing,
Yes.
but when I tell you it's like twist after twist after twist, it makes the Amy Allwine case look like child's play. And I don't know what's up with me right now that I keep looking at all these cases that are kind of similar to the Amy Allwine case, but this is
Mhm.
very much in the same vein. And I have to give a shout out to my brother Garrett because Garrett watches a lot of Dateline and a lot of 60 Minutes. So
Really? Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah. So he keeps me like up to date on a lot more of like the modern cases because babies, we know that I like to go back to the 70s and this is just like a hint for an upcoming case, but I tend to
Mhm.
go a little historical. I go a little older, and he's like, "You need to cover this. Like, this just happened, and it's wild." So,
There is something juicy about stuff that's, like, happening in real time. There is something it's just
yes,
I don't know how to explain it, but there is something you feel like you're chasing something that's active, right? Like, there's
yes.
still the real possibility that a huge break could come.
Well, with this case, it's pretty much wrapped up. 'Cause
Oh.
and you'll see why, but it's something that's I mean, it only happened probably like I think about 10 years ago, but it's something that when he came to me and was like, "I cannot believe you guys haven't covered this case or you haven't even heard of it," I was like, "Oh my god."
If I had a nickel for every time someone said that to me.
I know. Well, okay, so before we get into it, I am so curious. Have you heard of the case of Dalia Dippolito?
I don't think so, and even j I
Oh,
first
yes.
of all, I just took a quick, like, glimpse of the videos that you sent because 'cause you're like, "Play these during the show," but I didn't
Yeah.
recognize who this person was, so I don't think I know much of anything about this.
Okay, because as I was doing my research, I was thinking to myself, I pray to God that Silas doesn't know about this case because I just know it will absolutely throw you on your ass.
Oh,
But
jeez. Okay.
because it seemed like such a like popular one, I was like, he's gonna know this case. So I'm really gonna have to like, okay, this is gonna be so not fun because it's very dark and twisted, but it does have a good-ish outcome. So I don't feel too
Okay.
bad about saying that. Um,
Okay. I'm very curious. Can I click on the link you sent or no?
oh, did I drop the Canva link already?
I thought so. In chat, maybe?
I think I did. Yeah, go ahead
Yeah,
and
can I
open
click
it.
on it? Okay.
Yeah.
I plan to.
Okay, baby.
Creepers will put this up on Reddit, don't you worry. Should I
Yes.
stick on only the first page?
Yes, just stick on that first page, and
Okay.
creepers, if I can describe this case to you in one word, it would be twisted because it involves love, greed, denial, and just, like, downright craziness. So, I thought he was my brother when he sent the clip to me that one of them is in your little packet that you're gonna play. When he
Okay.
sent the clip to me, I literally thought he was messing with me. I was like, "Is this from, like, Reno 911?" Like, I thought it was fake. So,
Really?
yes, so with all that big old setup, I hope it hits and throws you the way I think it will, baby. But before we launch into this case, the case of Dalia Dippolito, let me just say, welcome back, creepers. And I'm thinking that when this case drops, it'll be our last day of our tour, baby.
Oh, was this a March episode? I
Yeah,
can't
this is a
even keep
March
track
up.
of where we are. I'm
I know.
like, what day of the week is this?
I
Okay.
know, baby. I
Gotcha.
think I think this is gonna drop on March 28th, and it'll be our final show at
Oh my
the
god.
Chemo Theater in Albuquerque. So
The
I just
haunted chemo theater,
the
that
haunted
is.
Chemo Theater. So I just want to say, if this is, and I think it's going to come out on the 28th, that I know that Silas and I have had such a blast meeting all of you guys, those creepers that we got to meet out on the West Coast. And I know we keep saying this, but just both of us have so much gratitude for how much the show has grown over the last couple of years. And you guys taking the time out to come and see us on the road. I mean, it's like truly like a dream come true for us. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that up front. And if you want to say
Yeah.
anything, baby, I think we gotta like let them know how much we appreciate it.
Of course, we appreciate them. I just couldn't stop thinking as you were saying that about the morbid possibility that this is scheduled for March 28th, and we went off a cliff in Denver sometime around the 20th. And this comes out, and we're like, if you're listening to this at the tail end of our tour, we're at the bottom of an embankment
Can
at
you
this
imagine?
point.
Like, that would truly be exactly what I would want for us, though, is that we were so
Don't say
far
that.
ahead
We
of
have to drive through
no,
the
no, no,
Rockies. Don't
but
say that.
but that we were so far ahead of schedule that even if something happened to us, Creep Time lives on. We have
Maybe
another month of episodes for y'all in the bank. Just know
with
that.
how much we've pre-recorded for After Dark, we'll be in our 70s and we'll be like, oh, I think there's an After Dark coming out this weekend. Like,
We have After Darks until, like, at least 2027 at this point, I
there's
swear to
so
God.
much after. Well, they're so quick to get out that
I
it's
know.
tricky, but sorry, I'll let you keep
No,
going.
no, no. Well, and they're so fun to do. So, yeah, so I just wanted to say moment of gratitude. And if
Yes.
you are new here, we are giving a moment of gratitude to our tour. So, we actually just wrapped up our Western leg of our tour. So, if you end up sticking around and you really like Creep Time and you want us to come to your city, make sure you go to creeptime.com where you can request your city because hopefully we can make our way across the rest of the country, babies.
Mm.
And if you are new here, go ahead and follow us or subscribe if you listen on Spotify or Apple, and leave us a comment or two if you enjoy the episode, you have thoughts. And actually, if you are listening on Spotify, they are running. Hopefully, I'm assuming probably still at this point they're doing ad free listening if you are on their Spotify for Creators page where you can watch us on video. So just make sure you head over there if you want to watch us on video because I think our expressions and the way we react it can add a little bit of color and you don't get any ads, baby.
Well, they'll get to see these big old conservative cups, is what they're going to
Baby,
see on video.
conservative, competitive. That's why I'm buying these skim tops now. It's
Is that a
very
skim
competitive.
top?
It's a skims top.
Oh, wow. It does look very. It does look very taut. I wanted to read one of the reviews. I wasn't sure which one but I remembered seeing one, and I feel like we hadn't done that in a while. But I saw some positive ones recently, so I just wanted
Aw.
to. Who is this from? Irish Gypsy is her username, and she goes, I've listened to many podcasts over the years, but Creep Time is by far my favorite. The banter between Silas and Stu, the cases that are covered, and the way they go in depth discussing these theories makes me feel like I'm a part of the conversation, which is so sweet. And this person also said they are a mental health professional of 20 plus years, which is sick. We have a
Wow.
lot of mental health professionals who listen to us, not only just for the cases, but to keep a watchful eye on what's
Yeah.
going on here.
On these two.
And they said I tend to talk out loud at the podcast, which that's one of my favorite comments and review pieces that I see when people are like, I
Yes.
talk with Silas and Stu as I'm watching. I think that's so fun.
Baby, that to me is that in my mind, I'm like, we've made it because I do that with my podcast. Like, I feel like having that parasocial relationship is like the most important thing. You want to be friends with the person.
I know. Well, we get
Um,
to meet some of them. We're gonna have met like a ton
yes,
of them on tour, which is
yes, yes,
crazy.
yes.
Get your meet
And
and greet passes now.
yes. And let me just say, too, on that note, if you can share the podcast with your friends and family, not only is that great, like it's a great way for us to grow the show, but it makes it more fun for you to be able to like bond with your friends over these cases. Be
Yeah.
like, did you listen to the latest episode? So, and let me just say, you're going to want to do that with this episode because this was like, I have been itching to go over this with you because when I first
Okay.
watched the video, I was like, bitch. So without,
8:52.
oh,
Marking it down.
mark it down.
It's fine. I didn't even edit it last time because I think I was so tired. There's been so much tour prep. I was like, you know what? If we let one slip, it's fine. Like,
Well, hold on. Can I just say, it's also a female dog, baby.
and that's precisely why we're not going to get flagged for
We're
it.
not going to
Although
get flagged.
somebody did send a comment or something and they were like, I hope you know when you use profanity, the Lord is watching. And I think they were serious.
That was definitely a Southern woman from my hometown saying, do not use the Lord's name in vain, which I know I
I was like,
have.
baby, if the Lord
So
is
I'm
watching
sorry.
me, rest assured, the language is the least of his problems.
Yeah,
Like, there's a
exactly.
lot going on behind the scenes here. All right.
Oh my God. Okay, baby. So let me launch us in to the case of Dalia Dippolito.
Yes.
So this case takes place in Florida in a town called Boynton Beach, and it all begins in October of 2008. And it starts with a bit of infidelity. And I shouldn't even say a bit because it's straight up cheating and
Okay.
it's pretty bad. So let's talk about 38-year-old Michael Dippolito, and you should see a picture of him, I believe, on that first page. There's
Yes.
actually photos of him and Dalia together, but from what I saw in the research, Michael was a quote internet entrepreneur. And I tried to get a little bit more tea on what that really meant, but it seemed like he was very well off and he had made most of his money through either real estate, like flipping houses, or he was involved in some sort of financial services. We'll get to more on that later. But unfortunately, Michael was unfaithful to his wife at this time. Her name was Maria Dippolito. And one October night, while Maria was out of town, Michael decided to hire an escort. And he calls this escort service in Boynton Beach. And half an hour later, a woman named Dalia Muhammad shows up. She was twelve years younger than him. So she was 26 at the time. And they end up spending the evening together. And then just 2 weeks after that first meeting, Michael ends up filing for divorce from Maria,
Oh, wow.
ending their nearly 7-year marriage to each other. Now, I'm sure there were already issues in their marriage for him to be calling an escort service, but for him to do such an about face, you know, leaving his wife of 7 years to go marry a woman that he barely
Mhm.
knew was pretty wild. But in an insane twist, not only did he file for divorce, but he also immediately proposed to Dahlia with a reportedly whopping $20,000 engagement ring. So Dahlia said yes, and they got married in February of 2009. So just take all that in for a second.
It's in.
It's in. So yeah, to be with somebody for nearly a decade and then in a span of a half hour decide to hook up with someone else, continue a relationship with them, file for divorce, remarry a few months later. I mean, that is
Yeah.
all
But
a
he's not
pretty
terribly old, I
crazy.
guess, either. I mean, because
Yeah.
he's 12 years older and she was 26, so he's, what,
Mhm.
38 years old. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I guess he's a bit young to be having a bit of a crisis, but maybe he's just I don't know, maybe he's just kinda flying off the hinges, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
get a good vibe from him, I will say, from looking at these pictures and creepers,
Yeah.
you should look at them too, but I don't think he's a guy that I would particularly get along with or enjoy.
Mhm. Mhm. What is your initial vibe from Dahlia?
I don't really know much about her just yet. I mean, I think any young girl first of all, I did not know escorting was legal in Florida, that's news to me, but, I think any young girl who is working in the sex working industry, I think probably has a story, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's not a conventional path that a lot of people just sort of arrive at. So, I would wonder maybe what her past is like and maybe what happened in her life.
Yeah,
Not that
for her
everybody
to
who
get
works in
there.
sex work necessarily has a tragic story, but I think that you've probably moved through a lot of different phases very quickly in your life as a young person to
Yeah,
arrive there.
totally. I do think it says something too, just like how quickly she agreed to get married to him though. Um, I don't know if
I mean, if I'm
you
26 and some guy pulls out a $20,000 rock, I
20,000.
might say yes too.
Yeah, yeah, of
No
course.
prenup? Sure.
Yeah,
Florida
exactly.
laws? Sure.
Yeah. Let me just say also, this case is, and I'm sorry, Floridians, it's very Florida. So it's pretty crazy in and of itself, that whole, whirlwind of the meeting, but that's about the least craziest part of the story, baby. So,
Mm, okay.
from everything I read about Michael and Dahlia, they were like overly affectionate with each other, like PDA times 1,000, to the point that Michael's friends, many of whom had known him and his ex wife Maria, felt really uncomfortable being around them. And I just wanted to mention that because I think it's really interesting in the context of everything that's about to go down. But something about their relationship just felt very like forced and over the top.
Hmm.
Now, in March of 2009, just 1 month into their marriage, Michael Dippolito's probation officer stopped by their home, and I'll get back to that in a second.
Okay. I
But
was
this
about
was
to
in
ask, I
I
was like,
know, I know.
Probation?"
I know. And this is in Boynton Beach, Florida still. And let me just say that they didn't live in some ordinary house. It was a $250,000 property, and it was kind of like on the outskirts of Palm Beach. So it was really nice. And Dahlia's life had drastically changed, obviously. Her financial and social status went from one level to an entirely different one. And not to paint a picture of her too soon, although I think I kind of mentioned it when I mentioned the ring, but like Michael had a lot of money. So in addition to that, Michael also had a pretty checkered past. So we're going to get to the probation officer
I love
part.
that expression, checkered past.
Checkered past.
I'm gonna start using
Um,
that.
so from what I read, Michael had first served time in prison for a fraud scheme. So he had essentially conducted a Ponzi scheme tied to Forex trading, which I had to look up. Do you know what Forex trading is?
I have no idea what that
Okay.
is.
So from what I saw, it is basically exchanging different currencies based on market rates. And scammers can, like, I guess, manipulate people into giving them money to exchange the currencies against those rates and like pocket, I guess, what they make from the exchange rate.
Okay.
It was kind of difficult for me to understand, but I guess from what Michael was doing, it was not only that, but it was more so just like a Ponzi scheme where he was stealing money from these people that were, investing with him in order to pay off
Mhm.
people that had invested with him earlier. So he was making it look like they were making a profit when in reality it was all just smoke and mirrors so he could pay off the people that he was
Yeah, he's
already
like a
like,
Billy McFarland type, like a true, like,
yes.
fraudster,
Yes, true baby, I have the word fraudster written in my research.
and good, and that's what I know.
Fraudster. So, he ends up going to jail after that, in the early 2000s, I think it was 2001, and he was sentenced to 28 years of probation after being released early. But here's the thing, when his probation officer showed up that day, it had absolutely nothing to do with that fraud case. So, this officer, along with two other officers, told him that they had received multiple anonymous calls alleging that Michael was involved in selling drugs. And they asked to search his home. And he agreed. He was like, I'm not involved in anything like that. And they
Mhm.
searched the home and they found nothing. And then the following weekend, Michael and Dahlia took a romantic little trip together, not far from their home. I think it was actually in Palm Beach. And towards the end of their stay, Michael woke up to police searching his car in the parking lot of where they were staying. And they told him, we have received another tip that you are dealing drugs at this resort. And Michael's like, "No, I swear to God, I'm not. I am not involved with any sort of drug ring." And
Mhm.
he says, "Go ahead and like search the entirety of the vehicle." And again, they find nothing. And then a couple months go by, and then closer towards the end of that summer, it happened again. And Michael and Dahlia were actually out having dinner at a pretty high-end restaurant in Boynton Beach. And when they stepped outside after dinner, Michael saw police again outside trying to search inside of his car. And at this point, he's just like baffled and he approaches them and he goes, "Actually, what is going on? Like, I swear to
Mhm.
God, I have no idea who's like, he's getting some sort of inkling like he might be getting set up or something."
Yeah.
And he says, "Go ahead and search the car." And they search the car and they actually do find something. They find a small bag of cocaine inside of a pack of cigarettes. And Michael is shocked and he immediately tells police, "I'm being framed. I don't do drugs. I don't sell drugs. I have absolutely no idea how this got in here." And he pointed out, he was like, "Guys, this is the third time that this has happened to me. And you guys have searched. This is the only time you've ever found anything." And he must have, like, built a pretty good case for himself in that moment because police believed him, and they even said to him, "We also kind of have an inkling that maybe you're being set up."
Mhm.
So, after that 3rd setup, the next morning, Dahlia drops a bombshell on Michael, and she tells him that she is pregnant, and
I love
she's
that that said it can either be a wonderful announcement or it's a bombshell.
well,
That's crazy.
yeah, well, I think it's a bombshell when the night before you've maybe just the
Right, like,
police have found a bag
he's
of
not having the
cocaine.
best year, let's say.
Yes, not having the best year, and we'll get to more in a little bit, but, like,
Bombshell pregnancy
he
announcement
might
is
have been
so
like,
funny.
"You are?" Is kind of maybe where I got the thought of, like, bombshell in my
Like,
head. If
shock
I
it
were
was
him,
shocking, yeah,
I might
surprise.
wake up and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, one more thing to add to the mix right now," but
Mhm.
she is ecstatic, and he seems excited, And, in her mind, she's like living this fairy tale that she's always dreamed of. And I actually read that, shortly before everything would go down, she even left a note on their refrigerator that said, "This is the happiest time of my life. You are my dream man. I love you now and always." So clearly, Dahlia feels like she's found the one. She's found the love of her life, this guy that can protect her, who can provide for her. And she was seemingly thrilled to be with someone like that.
Mhm.
So this is where everything is about to change. And before we press on, let me just ask, and actually, you already kind of said something, but I was going to ask you how you feel about Michael, how you feel about his past, and Dahlia's kind of like, blind love for him. And how do you think all of that kind of plays into these setups, I guess?
I mean, only because you've set this up to say there are a lot of twists and turns. Of course, anything that's presented in the beginning, I'm always like, hmm,
Hmm.
how peculiar. Um, I don't believe that somebody like Michael is a person who can be without redemption. So, in other words, if he had a bad past in his 20s where he was involved in something that was fraudulent,
Hmm.
I don't think that it's impossible that he can then leave prison and be on probation and live a very honest life, make an honest living. So, I don't have like one sway about him, if that makes sense, like one way or the other. But I am always a little suspicious whenever somebody is on the side of Dahlia, if
Hmm.
somebody is overly performative with their affection.
Yeah.
I
I
am
always kind
always
of think that's a
suspicious
red
of that
flag.
because I
Yeah.
don't think it's entirely normal. It's either serving yourself or it's serving a greater purpose of what you're trying to concoct or build, is my takeaway.
And when I was reading, when I got to the part that said, like, friends and family were, like, really put off by how over the top they were together, and I think it was more so the way she interacted with him in front of people, and I mean, I've
Mhm.
even had in my own personal experiences where, like, a friend of mine has started dating somebody, and it's just a little too much, and you're like, "What is this? Why are you doing all this in front of us?" There's, like, something else
Well,
there maybe.
when you first said that, I was first gonna say, I was like, "Well, is it just because they're, like, 2 really attractive people? Because they are both attractive, and I was like,
Yeah.
sometimes when hot just meets hot, they're like, "Oh my god, you're so hot," and then it's just 2
Yeah.
hot people being affectionate.
Yeah, and that can be part
I'm
of it
not
too.
sure.
That can be part of it too, and I mean, to be honest, I do think that that played into all of this. I mean, I think that the way their relationship started was very, like, hot and heavy,
Mhm.
um, and the secretness around, the infidelity and all that, and her being, very, like, sexy and,
Yeah, I was gonna ask if he
hot.
was an athlete. He looked like a pro athlete to me when I first opened the pictures.
I
Because he's so physically big.
Well, we'll get to it in a little bit, but they were both, like, major gym rats. They were
I can
like
tell.
yeah.
They look like Jeff Bezos and his
Yes,
wife or
yes.
girlfriend, whoever she
It's a
is.
little Jersey Shore, but I guess it's Florida
Mhm.
Shore.
Very Jersey Shore.
Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at August 5th, 2009. So that morning, Dahlia and Michael woke up to what should have just been another normal day. And it's so funny. In my research, I said, maybe I shouldn't use this term, but they were total gym rats. Michael was huge into working out, and so was Dahlia. And they were like the type to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go straight to
Mhm.
the gym, like every day. Um,
God
but
bless him.
God bless him. But this particular morning was a little bit different because Dahlia was gonna head to the gym at her normal time, which was, like, around 5:45 AM, but she was gonna go alone, and Michael was actually gonna stay back to walk their dog, and then supposedly he had to go to the bank later. And she leaves for the gym, and then at 6:40 AM, Dahlia's phone rings, and it's Boynton Beach Police Department, and they tell her, something urgent has come up and you need to come back to your home immediately. And she doesn't ask any questions and she just says, "Okay,
What?
I'll be there." And when she arrives, it is a scene. There is crime scene tape everywhere. There are media outlets, camera crews, police officers swarming the house.
Whoa, okay.
Something terrible has happened. And she walks up confused. And that's when police tell her there was a shooting inside of your home and your husband, Michael Dippolito, is dead. And this entire moment is all captured on camera. And that's the first clip I want you to play.
I'm gonna play it now.
Okay.
Okay. The very first clip, repeat what it is, what it's gonna be again?
So this is Dalia. She's just gotten the call
Arriving to the
from
home?
Boynton Beach police telling her you need to get back. Something terrible has happened to your.
Okay.
They haven't told her
I'm gonna
husband, but
watch it and play the audio, and Creepers, we will put these up on Reddit so you can
yeah.
watch and play the audio as well.
Hmm.
Let's see.
Sergeant Ramsey, I'm the one that called you. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry to call you. Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed. He's been killed, man. I'm sorry. Listen, try to calm down. Listen, right now we need to get you to the station. We need to get you to our police station. I can't let you in, man. We have to do our job. If you want us to find this killer, okay? We need you to calm down. I'm gonna need you to go with these detectives, okay? Does he have enemies? Is there anyone that would want to hurt him? Okay, who would want to hurt him? Witnesses said they saw a black male running from you. I can't let you see him, ma'am. Ma'am, I cannot do this right now.
I've seen enough.
Okay.
I've seen enough.
You've seen enough.
First of all, this is such a bizarre clip because I realized halfway through, I'm like, why is this filmed like it's for television? It's because it's a
Right.
media outlet who's literally, it's like they're mic'd up.
Yeah. Yes.
That was bizarre. Literally, it's like they have like mic packs on. The first thing that read as was like a bad scene out of an acting class, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why when my brother sent me that clip, I was like, "What is this?" I was like, I literally was like, "Am I watching Cops?" Like, this is such a
It looked like a
bizarre
mockumentary of
shot.
a cop show. A
Yeah.
mockumentary of a cop show. That's why I was
Totally.
like, okay, I'll take
Yeah.
that and I'll hold on to that.
And take that with a grain of salt. Um, but yeah, the interesting part about that is that right afterwards, they decide to bring her down to the station. And on the surface, it's to, console her, to ask her, who could have done this to your husband. You actually hear her in that clip kind of tip them off. But when they actually take her down to the station, she expands on that. She has theories and she says, he has this kind of checkered past. He was involved in a scheme. He's kind of rehabilitated his life, but he could have enemies still from back then. He's still on probation. So it must be like somebody coming back from his past to get him.
Okay.
And she even gives them like a couple of names of people that she can think of. And she's like, I bet if it's anybody, it's those guys. But I don't think she was ready for what happens next, because police were going to bring somebody into that interrogation room. And I want you to play the second clip there.
They're gonna bring someone into the interrogation room
Hmm.
outside of her.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Second clip.
Get over here. You know who this guy is? You've never seen him before. I've never seen him ever. Do you know her? Put your head up and look at her. Put your head up. I've never seen him. What were you doing coming out of her house? Get him out of here.
Who was that?
I'm not going to give anything away just yet, but I just want to go ahead and say, obviously, I mean, you hear in that clip, she's straight up denying knowing who that person is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and they're telling her, this is the person that we caught that was at your house. This is the person that, killed your husband. And she's like, I don't know who this is. I have no idea. And then we're going to get to the next big moment in this case. Because police are going to say, well, actually, no. You know what? I just want you to go ahead and play that next clip, the
Second
third
clip?
clip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or sorry, third clip.
Hmm.
All right. Third clip starting.
He's alive.
Come here, please. Come here. Mike, come here. Come here, please. Come here.
Can't fix this.
Why not? I didn't do anything
I
to
heard
you.
you.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
Okay. We'll take her back to the
Wait,
police.
who is she talking to? Who's she saying come here?
Okay. Go back to the very beginning and try to make out like the very first sentence that you hear.
He's alive.
Come here.
He's
please.
alive?
Yeah.
Wait, her husband's alive?
Her husband's alive.
What is going on this day?
So I
What kind of
wanted to
a
throw you for
what
a
setup is
big-ass
this?
loop. This,
That
okay.
was a twist, I'm gonna say, because that was something I did not expect from here.
Okay. So Dalia was totally behind this supposed murder And, like, this is kinda why I was saying it was a
Mhm.
lot like the Amy Allwine case. She had hired a hit on Michael,
That's what I
and
figured.
this was the moment that they said to her so right before this, they're like, "This is your chance to come clean, like, we know the truth." And she's like, "What?" And then they're like, "He's alive." And creepers will put this up, but you can't see him because he's behind the camera, but he's basically she's in the interrogation room, and he's behind the door, and they basically open the door, and she, in that moment, is seeing that her husband, who she thought was dead, is alive.
It's like Jennifer Pan. That's great.
Yes.
That must be such could you imagine what must have been going through her mind thinking that, like, okay, the plan? Because I definitely do. I was like, just from her acting performance in the first clip, I was like, she's behind some sort of an orchestration here. Either she shot the
Yes.
guy or she hired somebody to shoot the guy. I just assumed the job got done. One, because I think I assumed that maybe she was behind it, but that must be such insane cognitive dissonance to think that, like, husband is dead and then he shows up at the police station. It's like seeing a ghost.
Yes,
Oh my
and okay,
god.
and the other layer to this, and we'll unpack all of this, like, how we got here, but that second clip that I had you play, that was the hitman that she
Oh,
had
yeah.
hired.
Oh, I assumed.
Okay, well, and he was and we'll get to this, but he was an undercover cop, so he was also
Oh
completely in
my
on this.
god.
This whole thing was basically like a reality television show, like, it was crazy, but she's already
Dahlia.
Dahlia girl, but think about that moment, so the hitman comes in, who she doesn't know is an undercover cop, who she definitely does know that she just was speaking to, like, days prior, and is having to act her way out of that and
Yeah.
hope to God he doesn't say anything, and then the moment that that door opens and she sees her husband, I mean, I do have to give it to her that she, like, did not break at all when she saw the husband. I mean, she, like, didn't say anything giving herself away. She was like, "Please come
Well,
here,
of course, because she
please."
probably doesn't even know that the guy they just brought in is an undercover cop yet. So she's thinking,
Yeah,
she's like, okay, she's like, they caught the hitman, but maybe he's not going to talk. So as long as I keep playing this up, then it's going to be fine. Sees the husband and she's like, oh, damn, he didn't get the job done, but still, maybe I can get my way out of it. If the hitman doesn't talk, we'll just think that it's like some guy who was hired from the outside from his past.
yeah.
Oh, no, Dahlia.
It's so bad. Okay.
Dahlia.
Dahlia. Okay. So let's just we'll walk ourselves back through to how we got to this moment because this there's more video clips to be had. So um police were actually already suspicious of Dahlia because and actually some of them are in that interrogation room, but the officers that pulled she and Michael over that night that they found the cocaine baggie in that
Mhm.
cigarette pouch, they just had a gut feeling based on how she was acting that night that she might have something to do with it. And
I thought Michael would have as well, because
well,
if
I was
he's
just
like,
telling you,
"Somebody's
Michael
setting
had
me
a
up,"
gut
I'm like,
feeling.
"Girl, who has access to your car other than Dahlia?" Like
Exactly, exactly. Well, Michael had a gut feeling too, and apparently that night when they got back in the car, he actually did press her, and he was like, "Do you have anything to do with this?" Because he definitely started to have his suspicions, and also I think he was clocking, "I don't really know this woman all that well. I haven't known her all that long."
yeah, because how long had they been married at that point? Because it was really
That
fast, right?
was yeah, so they got married in February of 2009, and this was August.
Oh, yeah, so, like, no time has passed.
Yeah, so only a couple of months. And then the other big sign that he felt like she might have been behind it is apparently once they started driving away, she was the one driving and she was going like 100 miles an hour, like just erratically driving to get back home. And it was like she could feel that the walls were closing in. But right now, the walls have definitely closed in on her because Michael is standing there, alive looking at her, and she's completely dumbfounded, and she's like, "Okay, this is my oh shite moment." So, first, let me
Oh,
also
shite.
just oh shite.
Oh, shite, baby. Was that an
So,
Irish pronunciation?
oh shite.
"Oh,
Um
shite, oh, you look so gorgeous, darling. You look gorgeous."
You look gorgeous. Well, let me also just back up to that bombshell pregnancy. That's cracking me up now. I'm not going to forget that. The bombshell pregnancy was, I'm sure you probably deduced to this point, it was also fake. It was part of this much bigger scheme that she was plotting. So Dahlia had these intentions of basically defrauding her fraudster husband. And she had been keeping in touch with her ex boyfriend at the time, who was apparently still very into her. And there were later text records that showed, her texting him the same day that she had told Michael that she was pregnant, saying
Mm.
how much she missed him, how much she wanted to be with him, and she wanted to meet up with him. And they did meet up, she and this ex boyfriend. And when she did, she told him that she needed his help in getting rid of her new husband. Um,
Oh, he's
but
that type
yeah,
of guy.
yeah.
Okay.
But not getting rid of him in the way that you think at this point. So at first, she just wanted to have him pose as an attorney who was aware of Michael's past and basically have him issue a statement saying that in order for Michael to get off of probation, he would have to move the deed to his house into Dalia's name, which is just ridiculous because there's no world in which there's no law that would ever make you do that. But
Mhm.
anyways, she gets this ex-boyfriend to call Michael and explains this, and basically says, "Your probation will be severely lessened if you go ahead and you do this immediately." And I don't know how, but Michael ended up falling for it, and he did it. He put his house in Dahlia's name. And
Hmm.
then after this, Dahlia moves on to a different ex-boyfriend, and I believe this ex-boyfriend's name was Muhammad, but she at this point, this was gonna be the way she was gonna finish the job. She tasks him with getting rid of Michael once and for all. So, she knew that this ex-boyfriend was involved with a certain type of crowd where he might have access to a hitman that she could
Mhm.
hire. And I don't know if you're getting this from Dahlia yet, but she was not really the type to commit to anyone, and I think she really enjoyed the, like, cat and mouse effect she had with a lot of these ex-boyfriends and lovers and hookups because I mean, we kind of already touched on it, she was very attractive and apparently very alluring and used this to her advantage. She, like, even uses it later on in court, but, this particular ex-boyfriend was actually kinda done with her games, and after this, he goes straight to the police, and he tells them, "Hey, I've got this crazy ex-girlfriend who just asked me to go hire someone to take out her husband." And the police are like, "Whoa, well, that sounds like, a sting operation that we can get behind." So, they basically decide to take it on as an undercover mission, and that's sort of how we get to where we are, so
With the undercover cop,
with
yeah.
the undercover cop. So,
Whew.
they get a cop to go
God forbid a
undercover.
woman tries to make her money. Sorry. I'm
I
kidding, I'm kidding, I'm
we can
kidding, I'm
only
kidding.
laugh because this ended not in a murder or a death.
Yeah, the
Um,
only reason I would poke fun is because he's not dead, which is why
yes,
I'm like, "Okay."
of course,
This
of
is a
course.
little bit this is kind of farcical.
Yes, it is first. I mean, it is ridiculous. This whole thing is insane. So, yeah, so they get this undercover, cop to go as a hitman, and they get Dahlia's contact information from this ex-boyfriend, and they end up arranging a meetup with her to talk more about the hit. The style of the hit, how much it's gonna cost, and
Mhm.
they also put a camera in that undercover cop's car. And when Dahlia gets into the car, she's got all the things she needs. She's got pictures of Michael, she's got pictures of their home. She even makes a down payment on the hit. She brings about $3,000 cash with her in the car. And the really weird thing about and I've sent you just like a 1-minute clip, and also you'll kind of get the picture after you watch it for a little bit, so you don't feel like you have to watch the whole thing.
Mhm.
But the whole like 25-minute camera footage is online, and there are moments where the camera's kind of positioned behind them. If they're up in the front seat, it's kind of like behind the driver's seat, angled at the passenger seat, and you can see her like start to kind of glance back over at what she, I think, thinks is a camera. So she's kinda suspicious already,
Mm.
and, she, at one point, starts to kinda change her wording around because he starts to ask her directly, like, "So you want your husband Michael killed?" And
Right,
she's
she
like,
has to say it out loud on tape.
right, and she's, like, dancing around it a little bit, and she just goes, I don't know, like, maybe I would want him dead." Like, she's, like, saying things that aren't definitive, like, "I'm hiring you for a hit." But
Yeah.
I want you to play just a little bit of that clip of her in the car because, it's more
It is
like
crazy this
the
footage
initial
exists, by
setup.
the way.
That what?
It's crazy this footage exists. I don't
I
think I've
know, and then you
seen
can watch all of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen footage like this before when looking at a case, so I'm gonna play the audio for it. Hold on.
Okay.
Wait.
Do you go jogging in the morning? You go to the gym in the morning? I was going to the gym, yeah. I mean, if I go tomorrow, it's not going to
to look weird on you. Okay. I go to the gym on a regular basis. All right. Wednesday morning, go to the gym. Okay. All right. Because if I can't do the bank thing, then I'm gonna have to do it at the house. I don't want you at the house. Okay. Understand? Around 6:30, 7 o'clock, he always walks the dog in the morning. Okay. And he walks the dog across, like over where the lake is, and our door is always unlocked. I'll be in the house by 6:30 Wednesday morning. Okay. 6 o'clock, you get the gym. Okay. If you decide that you're not going to do the. Well, that's the thing. Listen, by the time you get back from the gym, you're gonna find two things: dead body in the house, all right, or nothing. Right. Okay. If it's nothing, then it's gonna be the thing. Right. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow. Then. I don't want to go Wednesday.
Should I keep playing it?
You don't have to keep playing it.
Wow.
I
It's so
I
crazy
just
that this is
yeah,
real. It's so crazy to me.
I know. I think
Wow.
I wanted you to play it because I feel I want you to react to it first.
I mean, it's crazy to see because I guess when like you imagine sort of I don't know, sting operations and scenarios like this, you always wonder, you're like, I wonder how those conversations actually go down. And then you see a video like this and you're like, it really is that nonchalant where it's like, you're going to come back tomorrow
Yes.
morning. You're going to find maybe one of two things, a dead body or nothing. And she's like, okay,
But
okay.
that's why I wanted you to play it, and I wanted the creepers to hear it because you hear then just the like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like the scope, but like she can really dial it up if she needs to. Like those acting moments where she was like wailing, crying. It was kind of cracking me up when I watched this, undercover footage because
Hmm.
she's like, okay, so you're gonna go do this. I'll go there. I'll head here. Like I'll go grab my McDonald's or my Starbucks. Like it's so transactional that I just wanted to like definitely paint the picture of her personality, and also I kind of have to give like props to that undercover cop. I mean, obviously they're trained to do that, but I mean, it went on for like 25 minutes of her asking like all these different logistical questions. And I was kind of like amazed at how he was able to pivot as quickly as he was.
Yeah. I thought that would be such an interesting role to play, like being an undercover cop for something and doing operations like this. Definitely very dangerous because you're dealing with some potentially very, very dangerous people who, if they sniff something, they might just kill you.
Yes.
But I don't know. I always Reno 911 does a really funny spoof on this too because they have oh, I'm forgetting her name, but the comedian who plays the blonde cop.
Oh, yes. I
And
love
she
her.
does this undercover bit where she plays like an underage girl, but she's like 45 in the show. So she's like they send her on these like sting operations.
That's
And
amazing.
she's just sitting at like a table with like a man who's like showing up as a perv. And it's her in like pigtails, but she's like 45.
The orphan. Wait, you know what? And I'll get back to the case, but my favorite bit that they do, and I know everybody knows this bit, but her going, step, bump,
Bump,
step,
step,
bump,
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 bump. It's so
step,
good.
bump, 5,
That
6,
show is
7.
amazing. I don't
This
even
is
want them to reboot it because I'm like,
I
it's
know.
just so perfect as it is.
This is making me wanna go back and rewatch it, honestly. Um, okay, so I'll press on. So, as you could tell from that clip, they decide that what they're gonna do is set up the time very early in the morning at around 5:40. She's gonna go to the gym, and then Michael was gonna go take their dog for a walk, and she thought the, supposed hitman was gonna kill him while she was at the gym.
Mhm.
Now, she could have never expected what was actually gonna go down. So after she left for the gym that morning at 5:40, the police end up showing up to Michael and Dalia's house, and they knock on the door, and they meet Michael, and they say, "Michael, you need to listen to us, and we're being dead serious. Your wife is trying to have you killed right now." She thinks we know she's at the gym. She thinks that a hitman is coming over here right now to, take a kill out on you that she has orchestrated,
Mhm.
which I just cannot imagine, like, how you even react in that moment to hearing that. But
Yeah, like anger, disbelief. Like, try to imagine somebody you trust and you love. I don't know if he really felt that for Dahlia, but I can't get that out of my head. It would be like a sibling, like someone coming to my door and being
yeah,
like, "Mel has put a hit on you." I would be like, I would close
what?
the door.
I know, like,
I'd be like,
but
"Try it, bitch."
I know, but thank
44.
I'm like, at this point, can the B word just be in our
No,
lexicon? I know,
no,
I know.
I'm not getting us demonetized. I'm
I
not doing
know.
it.
So, but thank God she had kind of screwed up with all those, like, the weird drug planting bit and like kind of teeing this up because I do think Michael's trust was waning at this point. And he
Good point.
says, okay. And they end up, going and they set up that entire crime scene. Like they call a
Call the
news outlet.
media?
Yeah, and they set up this whole fake crime scene and, like, the caution tape, and it's just creepers. You'll see it in that first video, but I
These
mean
are theater makers, these cops. They're
well,
putting on a
maybe.
production.
I know, I was like, "Only" and I'm sorry, Floridians again, I love y'all, but, like, only in Florida are we doing this, truly. So,
Whoa.
let me see, yeah, so at 6:40 AM, they end up calling Dalia, like I said earlier, and they say, "You need to get home right now. Something has happened to your husband."
Mhm.
So this whole undercover charade is going on, and she's absolutely just playing into it like crazy when you see that first clip. But really, it was that watershed moment where she sees her husband, and they say to her, "The jig is up."
Mhm.
And so police are at that point just really trying to get a confession from her, even though they don't really need it because they have everything
I was
caught
gonna
on
say they
camera.
filmed every inch of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, but they do press her. She relentlessly denies it though, and they do end up getting her, taken to jail. And this is where it gets even more wild. She is given a phone call when she gets there, and instead of calling her, attorney or maybe somebody in her family, she ends up calling Michael and tries her best to manipulate him. And she uses all this kind of like mental mind effery, and she starts to make him question everything that he's learned thus far. And she kind of just, and he presses her, but she glosses over, everything that's just happened. And she basically barrels through and says, "You're my husband. You need to call me a lawyer. Like, this is your duty to me as your wife." And he's like,
That's
I know.
crazy.
And he's like,
Ah!
"Lady, you just tried to have me killed. Like, the contract of our marriage is null and void." But it's weird. It was like she was disassociating or something. Like, she just was not clocking that he
Damn, I might
was
just too, like
I just it was so bizarre. And I guess I was reading that. I was like, I guess she must have just been like a total narcissist that she or just completely
I mean,
delusional
she's
that she
also
was
very young. She's like 26,
yeah.
27, and I'm like, she just seems extraordinarily naive maybe when it comes to the magnitude of this and not
Yeah.
quite piecing together like, "Oh, wait a second. This was an undercover operation. It's not just Michael as a loose end I have to tie off. There's a whole police force who knows what the hell's going on. I'm buried.
Exactly.
I'm done."
Exactly. I don't think she was, like, fully getting, like, the full scope. Like, "You're toast,
Mhm.
biatch. Like, it's over." So, Dahlia ends up being held in jail for 20 months before her trial would begin in April of 2011, and this is because she decided to plead not guilty, and she maintains that plea through the entirety of her trial. And this blew my mind, but she basically comes up with this whole like and her defense team come up with this whole like cockamamie story that the TV crews and the media outside her home was all staged and it was a hoax so that she and Michael, I guess, could get on TV. So she's basically coming up with this whole story that like it was all planned and this was all basically part of like a fake, sort of like a cops-esque show.
They're making a pilot?
Yeah. So
Kind of an amazing spin, I gotta
I
say.
know, I
This
was
is one
like
of the more comical episodes of Creep
I
Time.
know, it is kind of hilarious, like, I guess if you're the defense attorney and you're sitting up late at night and it's 3 AM and you're on your, like, 8th cup of coffee to figure out how to get this chick out of jail, you're like, "I guess we'll try it, like, this is
Oh,
our
I mean, when,
last."
like, you're this buried, yeah, like, throw it all at the wall, why not?
Yeah,
Go crazy. Listen, stranger things have happened in the court systems. If we've seen Casey Anthony get off on a not guilty plea,
I know.
I'm sure this woman has 2 feet to stand on somewhere.
I know. So, after 3 hours of deliberation on May 13th, 2011, the verdict comes back guilty. Thankfully, the ruse did not fool the jury, but it gets even worse because remember how Michael had signed over his house to Dahlia? He decides that this is the only thing that he wants out of the entire situation. He just wants her to go to jail and for him to give her his house back. And he says, that's a huge asset for me. Like, if you give it back to me, I will not go after you anymore and I'll just move on with my life. And he even, I read, took it a step further and he ended up giving her a call where he tries to really empathize with her and is like, I went to jail too. I know what this is like. I don't want to make this any harder on you. Just give me back my house.
Mhm.
And he also makes a statement that I found really interesting. He says, "I did my time. I admitted it. I tried to change my life after that, and you're doing the complete opposite. You're doing something that's a lot worse than what I did." Uh, You're not trying to right your wrongs. You're still just playing the victim. And then she does something absolutely unbelievable after this conversation. She and her attorneys file an appeal because she literally cannot accept that she's guilty and that she's going to jail. And at this point, I think her only goal is also to just make Michael's life a living hell. Like, I think that
Mhm.
was her, fodder at that point, what was giving her purpose.
Like, she's gonna leave scratch marks as she goes down.
Yeah. And thank God the judge comes back and really hits her where it hurts. And he says, "You're really messed up." And then he walks her
I love a
through,
judge going, "You're really messed up."
"You're really messed up."
Gotta
And
see that on
I'm like,
camera.
some of this is me paraphrasing, obviously, but he walks her through, he's like, "Let me give you a play by play of just how long you were, you know, planning all this and plotting this." Basically, what I was saying earlier, where it's like maybe she was too young to comprehend it. The judge is like, "Let me
Mhm.
give you a play by play so you understand how dumb this is." So after this, he ends up sentencing her to 20 years in prison, which her defense team again appeals. And somehow they're able to get it reduced to a house arrest in Florida for 6 years while she awaits a second trial. So somehow they were able to appeal it so that she could get another trial. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because
Sorry.
because no, because 'cause they'll reduce, like, a sentence, I think, to, like, just house arrest. I've always wondered, like, why like, how house arrest works, because, yes, I get like, who's paying for the house is always my question. Because are you allowed to work? You must be allowed to do something, but also the type of work you can get as somebody who's been sentenced and has a record and is on house arrest, I guess, is limited.
Yeah,
Like, I think of Anna Delvey a lot, and I'm always confused by, like, where's her money coming from? Also, how
I
could she
know.
do Dancing with the Stars? Isn't she still on house arrest?
Didn't she do it with the little
She had a
ankle
little
thing?
ankle monitor, so they gave
Isn't
her
that what
special
everybody
permission to
was?
go to the studio?
I think so.
That's insane.
Now, I don't know about Miss Dahlia, though. I don't know if she was able to continue being an escort on house arrest. I don't know how that quite works out, but, anyways, fast forward
They just
to
come to you, that's it.
I
No
know,
more doing house calls.
I know. Now fast forward to 2016 when her second trial happened. So, she claims everything that she claimed before. She says it was a hoax, that this was all about them getting on television, and she even goes a step further, and she says that the police chose them for this because of how attractive she was. Basically saying, like, the cops thought I was hot and they thought it'd be good for TV. And
It's not
this
the
is gonna
worst defense
make
I've
you
heard, to be honest.
what?
It's not the worst defense I've heard.
I know.
It's like,
And
if we're, like, building out fiction, I was like, "Let's play on what we have."
I know. And then she takes it another step further, and she says, "That undercover cop, the hitman, he actually, had a gun pointed at me in the car. That's the only reason that I was saying any of that stuff." So, obviously, I'm beating a dead horse here, but we're not working with somebody that's got a full deck here, and, that second trial actually ended up becoming a mistrial because there was a hung jury. It was 3 to 3, which I was just like, "What?" That's insane to me, but I guess we're in Florida. And then there's a third trial that happens in June of 2017, and that was when she was actually found guilty again,
Okay.
thank God. And in July of that year, she would be sentenced to 16 years in prison without the possibility of parole. So her release date is now August 24th, 2032. And if you're wondering, yes, she has appealed this. And thankfully, most of those appeals have been denied. And she will be 50 once she is released.
If
S-
if that's gonna carry through, because 'cause we've also
If.
seen 5, 10 years down the road, people appeal and then they get out. We saw that with even the Allison, Botha case,
Yes,
where,
yeah,
like, they're out. So I have no concerns that if she's gonna continue to appeal this, something will slip through the cracks in some court system and she will get out early.
yeah. Well, clearly it's worked twice before, which is just insane to me. But yeah, and my only hope is that she serves enough time to hopefully mature and realize the gravity of what she's done. So even if she does get out, she's going to be, I mean, I'm not very hopeful on this, but she needs to spend enough time in jail to, if she was too young to understand what the heck was going on, she needs to use that time to figure out what she really did so she can enter back into society as like a semi
Oh, yeah.
normal person.
And just to clarify, I mean, I wasn't saying she's too young to understand the gravity of putting a hit on somebody. I was saying she
Yeah.
seemed too naive to understand, "Oh, if he's alive, there's probably larger operation that already knows what I
Yeah.
did.
No, I totally was on your side with that. Like, I was just like, I didn't even think about the idea that she was not clocking all the undercover cop. The cops were the same cops that had found them, months prior with
Mhm.
the drug, fake drug busts and everything. Like, I don't think that she was fully comprehending. I think she knew exactly what she was doing when she was hiring someone to kill her husband. Um, but just to tie all of this up and hopefully end us on more of a positive note, Michael was actually granted his house back by the judge, so that's good for him.
I was gonna say, I
And
was like, there has to be some judge who's gonna, like, look at that and be like, "No, no, no,
yes,
no, 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 no. No, 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 no,
yes.
no."
And oh, and I haven't mentioned our the Canva doc really, but there's other things on the
I was
second
wondering I
page.
still have
I
not
know.
scrolled from the first page because I was never
I was gonna
prompted.
say you saw most of it. You saw most of the second page on
Oh,
the
yeah.
video clips, but on the third page, I think I've got a picture of how Dalia has progressed in life and how Michael has, and I think there's a picture of Michael with his new wife at the bottom. So he's remarried and he's apparently very happy. Um, the only thing that was really crappy about this, besides him almost being killed, of course, was that he could not actually get a divorce from her for a very long time. And I don't know what this Florida law was, but
Interesting.
during the entire first trial, he was not able to file for divorce until the trial was over in its totality. So they had to stay married through that entire thing. So I felt really bad for him when I read that, but
I wonder why that is. We should have
I don't
a
know.
one of the creep time lawyers who's listening, the creep time counsel, they should weigh in on that. I wonder,
Yeah.
does it just, like, muddy the existing trial, so they're like, "We can't change the status of anyone's, I guess, sort of legal marriage while the trial is on." I don't know how that works or why that would be a thing.
Yeah. Of course, I was thinking like, is it like an emotional thing? Like they don't wanna set somebody off, if somebody gets filed for
I think divorce feels like
unexpectedly, but
child's play when your spouse tried to
exactly.
kill you, so I doubt it's
Exactly,
that.
exactly. So I was like, that would be the least of their worries at this point, and obviously the marriage is fried. But yeah, that would
Fried.
be if there's any Floridians that haven't already turned this off, weigh in and tell us if you know what the law is. Um, but I also just think this is a good moment to talk to, the creepers about being in a relationship with someone that's manipulative and a narcissist. Like, this is obviously a crazy example of what can happen, but just know, like, don't let somebody gaslight you when it is so clear as day. And like, most of us don't have the luxury of having someone caught on camera to corroborate it. And I know that I'm taking this, to like another level because this is obviously about a hit, but like, this was somebody that was really taking advantage of another human being, and he just didn't have, I think, the right, evidence, I guess, at the time to really, like, catch her, or he felt like he was indebted to her because he
Mm.
was taking care of her financially. But I just thought, that might be a good place to end this on, that, like, it's a reminder that, it can even be the people that are closest to you that and it's very unexpected. So just, like, listen to your gut. Like Michael, when he wanted to listen to his gut about those, setups and everything. I just thought it was interesting to reflect on that.
Yes. The moral is do not trust anyone, even the people you love.
Yes. Trust those
That's
instincts, baby.
it. I must
But
say, the person who really wins in all of this, I suppose, is the ex-wife who was left after 7 years of marriage. The karma is quite
Maria.
spectacular. Maria, girl, clean up.
Maria is somewhere like, "Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier."
I couldn't stop thinking about her. I was like, I wonder what she thinks of all this and this craziness. But yeah, I mean, it's an excellent thing, I suppose, that Dahlia was caught and all of this unraveled in the way it did, and that really nobody got hurt in the process.
Yes.
Because I don't think if it wasn't Michael and this somehow fell through and she moved on to a different relationship, I think this would have happened again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I
I
think this is something that would have been a serial behavior or pattern for her.
totally. And actually, I'm kinda mad at myself that I didn't do, and it's very unlike me because 'cause I'm always, like, into the backstory, but I would like to know more about Dahlia's background, like, why she is this way, 'cause I really didn't
Mhm.
research much on that, but I think it could tell us a little bit more about why she did this. She didn't have to do this. Like, he was providing her a great life.
That was my one question too. I was like, I wondered why, like, what had incited this, if it was truly just about money or if they had contention in the relationship or if he was abusive or something. Those are the things I kept wondering about because I was like, it seems unusual that someone would just plot to do this purely for money when everything is already kind of provided for her, it seems
Yeah.
like. I was like, why does she want him out of the picture entirely? What's
That's
the end goal there?
I thought that too, but to be totally honest, like, after watching so many clips of her and also the relationships she's had with, like, past lovers and ex-boyfriends and, like, continues those relationships, I kinda think that her MO, to be perfectly honest, in life is to, like, get money and screw over the a lot of the male guys in her life. Like, that just
Mhm.
kinda seemed like a pattern for her. Um,
Like, just a
I also
consistent detachment from
Yeah,
most relationships in her life, so it was
yeah,
like, it doesn't matter if he lives or dies. The whole
yeah,
point of any of it is just to get what I want, which is the money.
I think so. I also think he didn't do himself any favors by rushing into everything with her, and I wonder too, and I should have looked into this with the research, but, like, did she kind of coerce him into the engagement? Was it like, "I want a ring on my finger, or else I'm out of here," like
I'm sure. I mean, they both
Yeah,
wanted something, I suppose, out of that. Either he wanted to jump ship from his current marriage and he was impulsive, or she was ready to get all she wanted and more financially from it. Like,
yeah,
there's a reason two people jump into a marriage after 2 weeks of knowing each other. It's not normal on
exactly.
either end.
Exactly, and the $20,000 engagement ring, though, I could not get over that.
What happened to that?
I don't know. Hopefully, Maria has it. I mean,
It's in
I
the
know
heart
she
of the
doesn't
ocean.
want
She
it.
tossed it off into
I was gonna
the
say,
Florida
hopefully
Ocean. I
hopefully, she took it to a jeweler and said, "Give me the cash."
was gonna say, I was like, "Where'd she get the money for the hit?" Maybe it was from the ring.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That is a wild story.
I know, but it is funny. This was kind of a different tone for us. It shifted kind of
Well, yeah, I guess so. Because there's
honestly.
usually a morbid tone to, like, all of Creep Time, I think, but this one is more so like a kind of like a comical unraveling of a conspiracy, which
Yeah,
is very different.
it's kinda like a redemption hour for, like, you know, I guess us having to go through so many cases where the person got away and it's just devastating. Like, this kind of feels good to be like, "No, you dummy."
Yeah,
Like,
it does.
this was
It
the
does. So he's with a new person today. This is, like, the girlfriend?
Yes, yeah,
Or maybe she's the
that's
wife,
his
I'm
new
not
wife.
sure.
And I don't know what her name is.
He does have a very strikingly similar silhouette to
He
Dalia.
does. I noticed
So
that
maybe
too.
he has a type?
Maybe he has a type. I think she might be a little bit younger than him too.
I
Um,
would say so.
yeah. And I don't wanna, like, paint too much of a picture about Michael. I don't think that and obviously we know this from his past too. I don't think Michael is, like, a totally squeaky clean dude by any means, but, I mean, for somebody to go to these lengths to have him killed is crazy.
I would imagine that's probably very damaging long term. I mean, for anybody who's in a relationship where suddenly your partner turned on you to the point they were going to have you killed, I would find that would be scarring for me in a way where I don't think I would be able to trust anyone ever again.
I know. I kind of because I think he got married pretty quickly after, uh, Dahlia's maybe, like, the 2nd trial or something.
Oh
Like,
my
he
god,
moved
take a
on pretty
break.
fast.
Go to
I know.
Thailand or something, like,
I
enough. Just
know. Please eat, pray, love.
go on
Please.
vacation, like, you don't need to jump into marriages.
Yeah, yeah.
Enough.
Agreed. But yeah, baby, that is the case of Dalia Dippolito.
That's a wild one, I gotta say, and also, the footage really does enhance this. It's insane to me this footage exists, and even from the first video that you sent, which, creepers, you should go watch this if you haven't. It looks like it's for a TV show, so I can almost see. I don't know, I don't wanna throw stones at the defense attorney because I feel like they were working with pretty much nothing. Because this
Yeah,
looks like a cut and dry case where you're like, I mean, girl, like, you
ex
basically the hired hitman was the cop. Like,
exactly.
what runway do we have? And then they're like, "Well, this camera is angled only at you, so we don't really know what that cop was doing in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Could he have had a pistol on you?"
And let me
Me as
tell
the
you
defense attorney.
I know.
I
Actually, you
was
know
like,
what's
"You
funny?
do look really snatched in this video with the media. Could this be a pilot?"
I can actually see you call her in and you're like, "Alright, lay it out for me," and you go, "Okay,
With
so
my acrylics.
here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pitch it to Andy." No, seriously though, they did not do themselves many favors also because you can go there's so much video footage of this. I didn't wanna, like, inundate you with too much to play, but there's even footage of them, like, in the, um down at the police station, like, following Michael as he's walking around, and they're like, "Dahlia's in the other room, like, you're gonna" like, it's like the freaking producers are behind him being
Okay, if
like,
they're
"Dahlia's
doing
in the"
that, then this
Yeah.
actually is some kind of, like this TV show pitch conspiracy isn't quite a conspiracy. Like, if they're
Yeah.
doing that, they're compiling this for something, and you could make the argument and be like, "Well, no, it's all, collection of footage for evidence because we're gonna use it against her in court," and it's like, "Well, I'm sure body cameras exist. Nobody needs to be walking around with a DSLR on their
Yeah.
shoulder
Right,
and,
right,
like, on a
right.
boom mic, like."
Right.
And also, I could tell that's crazy, like, thinking back about the first clip that you sent because not only did I think her performance was bad and I was like, "Oh, this girl put a hit on her husband." I thought the cop's performance was bad, so I was like my ears perked up and I'm like, "Why does he sound so fake?" This makes sense. It was
Yeah.
all an operation.
Mhm. It was just over the top. OTT.
He goes, "Sorry to tell you, your husband is dead. I'm sorry. You can't see him. You can't see him. You gotta
Do you
go.
know
I'm sorry."
do you know what cracked me up when the first time I watched it is the other officer that's standing there, and he's like
Wait, I gotta look at him. What
he's
he do?
just kinda looking around, and I'm like, "Oh god, this is bad. It's bad TV."
That's what it feels like. Hold on, let me see him. I shouldn't be laughing, but
I
only
know, I
only
know.
because this is all fake. Like
Yes.
it's not fake. The hit was real, but like she's acting, the cop is acting, the cop behind them is like stretching his neck. He's like while she's grieving. It's madness.
It's ba Yeah, I would be curious to see if that officer that kind of orchestrated this whole operation, like, if he really thought all of this through, or why this? Could we not have just
I mean, I think two things can be true. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she is guilty, obviously, but so I don't get her not guilty plea, but also this is quite a bit of like orchestration and like footage to capture if you're not looking to pitch this, I suppose, as some kind of a cop reality show.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
Something's
suspicious.
off about it to me. I'm like, "Just go ahead and get her. You already had her with the" it just was too much. But
Interesting about like positioning cameras in cars too. I guess that must be really tricky to put a spy camera in a car if like
Mhm.
somebody really shouldn't be able to see it because you don't want it to be directly in their eye line, but you still have to capture their face at certain points. So I guess the back driver's side door does make sense, but clearly she saw it a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was also thinking about that, like, if it were me, would I even, like, be thinking about that? I guess if you are gonna hire a hit on somebody, maybe you just run in a crowd where you know that that's a possibility that it could be an undercover cop, but when I saw her, like, clocking the camera, I was like, "How was she even, like, thinking that to herself that there might be a camera in the car?" But I guess people you watch enough
I
cop
guess.
shows or true crime and you are anticipating that, but I was kinda shocked that she had her wits about her enough to kind of glance back and
She may not have been
skirt
noticing it.
around.
Maybe she was just paranoid to be like, there's nobody in the seat or anything. I mean, I'm sure it's just a very like panicky moment. So maybe her eyes were just kind of looking around to see
Yeah.
like anybody near us kind of thing. I keep
Mhm.
thinking about the Dorinda quote, write it, regret it, or say it, forget it, write it, regret it.
Uh-huh.
She was following that and it still
She
came back to
was.
bite her. You always got to check for a wire, honey.
It's true,
Always.
baby. It's true. Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for, first of all, being my AV, being my techie, playing all the videos.
I am
I
dressed in my
greatly
theater blacks
appreciate it.
today too,
Yeah,
so
I know. You're in
I
your
came to
text.
work dressed.
Oh my gosh, and creepers, I wanna say thank you so much for going on that wild little ride with me, and babies, we'll catch you on another Friday episode, but for now, we're
Yeah.
gonna say goodbye.
And good luck.
Bye, creepers.
Bye, guys.